The Men Who Dared to Say No, engaging retelling of German officers who resisted Hitler. The table that should have ended the war. The oak table trembled. It was thick, too thick, carved from a single ancient tree that had survived storms, lightning, and centuries of history. It had endured everything. And now, that table, its heavy slab of wood, was the only reason Adolf Hitler survived the blast meant to kill him. When the smoke settled, the table stood split and charred, but intact. Hitler lived, and the men who had tried to kill him were already as good as dead. The last signature, Stauffenberg's final night. Hours earlier, in a dimly lit office in Berlin, Colonel Claus von Stauffenberg wrote his final signature with a trembling hand. Ink pooled like a drop of blood on the page. He stared at the name, his name as if engraving it into fate itself. Outside, the night was restless with sirens, boots, distant bombs. But inside, Stauffenberg's world had narrowed to a single thought. If I do nothing, millions more will die. The war had taken his eye, his right hand, 2 fingers of his left, but not his conscience. That he refused to surrender. He closed the folder labeled Operation Valkyrie. It looked like any other emergency plan. But rewritten under his direction, it had become a weapon, one capable of overthrowing the most brutal dictatorship in history. Tomorrow, he would carry a bomb into Hitler's briefing room, and he would walk out alive, or he would not walk out at all. 2. The fire that would not go out. Trescow's War in the Shadows. While Stauffenberg prepared his final act, deep in the forests of Belarus, another officer fought the same war on a different front. Major General Henning von Tresckow looked out over the snowy wilderness where massacres stained the earth like open wounds. His breath formed ghostly clouds in the freezing air. He whispered to the young officers by his side, "We are responsible for Germany's soul, not Hitler's victory." Tresckow had been resisting since before most Germans realized the regime was evil. He had already attempted to kill Hitler multiple times. A bomb disguised as a gift of fine brandy. A suicide bomber disguised as a bodyguard. Hidden explosives smuggled onto Hitler's plane. Each attempt had failed by chance, by minutes, by faulty detonators. Each failure chipping away at hope, but never at resolve. He believed one thing to his dying breath. A man's conscience is reason enough. The explosion and the table that stole history. July 20th, 1944. Wolf's Lair. Pine-scented air. Mosquitoes. A heat wave. Hitler's staff gathered in the wooden conference hut, sweat beading on their brows. The war was turning. Rumors of defeat drifted like smoke through the command. Stauffenberg entered carrying a simple brown briefcase. Inside it was a bomb powerful enough to shatter steel. He placed it carefully under the table on the wrong side of the thick wooden support that would save Hitler's life, then excused himself. Minutes later, the building erupted. The sound was something between thunder and a scream. Men were blown off their feet. Flames rolled across the ceiling. Smoke swallowed the air. The shockwave cracked windows miles away. But when the dust fell, Hitler limped out of the ruin, burned, bruised, furious. And that ancient table, ripped and smoldering, had taken the blow meant for him. History pivoted on a piece of wood. Long lived sacred Germany. The last stand of Stauffenberg. Back in Berlin, Stauffenberg truly believed that Hitler was dead. He watched Operation Valkyrie begin. He watched officers move, orders fly, phones ring. For a moment, the coup worked. But then the truth came roaring back. Hitler had survived. The phone lines switched sides. Generals retreated. Allies became enemies in minutes. Soldiers stormed the Bendler Block courtyard where Stauffenberg stood tall, his empty sleeve hanging at his side. By lamplight, just before the firing squad shot, he shouted, "Long live sacred Germany." The shots rang out. The last honest men in the Reich fell. But their story didn't end there. Truth against tyranny. Paulus at Nuremberg, far from the battlefield, in a cold Soviet prison camp. General Friedrich Paulus wrestled with guilt heavier than any chain. He had obeyed Hitler at Stalingrad. He had watched his army starve. He had begged for permission to surrender, only to be ordered to die instead. Now he faced a choice: remain silent, or speak the truth the world needed to hear. When he entered the Nuremberg courtroom, cameras flashed. He looked smaller than the giant who once commanded 300,000 men. But when he spoke, his voice cracked with a painful honesty. "I am guilty of obedience. Others are guilty of command." His testimony carved open the lies of the Third Reich like a scalpel. He became one of the few high-ranking officers to publicly denounce the regime and help bring its leaders to justice. The quiet hero Anton Schmidt's hidden war on the front lines. One officer fought a different kind of battle. Lieutenant Anton Schmidt was not a conspirator, not a general, not a mastermind. He was simply a man who could not watch people die. He forged documents, hid Jewish families in trucks, escorted them through checkpoints with a heart pounding like a drum. Each act was silent rebellion. Each life saved a spark against the darkness. When he was executed, he wrote, "I have merely acted as a human being." History would remember him as more than that. He was proof that courage does not require rank, only compassion. Legacy. The men who dared to say no in the wreckage of the Third Reich, in the ruins of cities and the ashes of truth. These stories rose like embers refusing to die. Stauffenberg, Treschow, Paulus, Schmidt, and countless others, secret saboteurs, silent resistors, officers who dared to testify against their superiors when the world finally listened. They were not perfect men, but they did the bravest thing a person can do under tyranny. They said no. And for that, history remembers them not as traitors, but as the conscience of a nation. Comment, share, and like. Subscribe, and click on the notification bell for more video like this.